It was launched by the idea was launched by the president on his recent tour to Nyanza just a couple of days ago. And so what we see is something that was promised before, but then now it's becoming a reality, whereby we will have a railway. So now essentially it's going to go all the way it's going to come from Mombasa. It's, right now stops in around Naivasha. Then now it's going to extend out to Kisumu. And that seems to be, that will be a reality. And by and large, people agree, even Joe agrees that this is a good thing. The problem, though, is that what lies beneath.
Right.
Is there a problem already that we can imagine when we talk about 500 billion shillings? Is that adequate money? Is that too much money? Is there already budgeted corruption here? Because the question's already being asked. When we've been told a timeline about 2 years is when we're going to see that this will be completed. Should Kenyans be at the point, from an economic point of view, worried about this? Or do we say this is great, it's infrastructure, it's development, it's opening up the country, let's go?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to discuss the railway. It's a great development. Mm-hmm. There are three issues that I'd want to discuss around the railway. Number one is the question of necessity. Mm-hmm. Do we need it? And do we need it now? Number two is the question of governance, and especially governance around our infrastructure projects. And number three is the question of the national debt. Now, let me start with the necessity question. Mm-hmm. This is a Mwananchi way of doing cost-benefit analysis. Yes. When we build a road from Garissa going north all the way to Mandera, we are not building it because there's awesome cargo that's going to move from Garissa to Moyale. It's just that those people that come from that region also deserve a road. Mm-hmm. Notwithstanding the sessional paper number 10 that stipulated that development must follow value. Mm-hmm. And so number one in terms of necessity is just inclusion. We have done a railway from Mombasa to Naivasha. Mm-hmm. In other words, we have prioritized that belt for economic use. And we have said that a cargo moves from Mombasa into the hinterland all the way to Naivasha. Yeah. We do not see a lot of cargo going west, and so it's no longer a priority. I have seen other people saying that the real issue is prioritizing. But the first point, all factors constant, is inclusion. The bulk majority of Kenyans that come from the western side of the country also deserve to go home on an SGR. Myself included. But the second question is more practical than that. The second part of the necessity question is the regional trade, as it were. The first time I started studying into railways and SGR was in the year 2018. After I was in Mombasa, I wanted to go into the clearing and forwarding business, and then I'm being told, are you the only visitor in Jerusalem? Because things were bad. So I started studying into it. And at that time, the regional business, in terms of the cargo moving from Mombasa into the region, was less than 25%. The bulk of the cargo that was coming into the port of Mombasa, the export business is negligible. The huge bulk of the transport need for our country and the countries in the region is in fact the import business. And so at that time, the percentage of the regional business was less than 25%. Today, it has gone higher, that now the domestic business is around 55%, and the rest is either transit business or transshipment. Transit is a lorry leaves Mombasa, goes all the way to DRC, carrying the container. Transshipment is a lorry leaves Mombasa, goes to Busia, and another lorry carries it from Busia to. But it's still the same. It's going into the region. While the domestic business for cargo is growing, the regional business for cargo is growing a lot faster.
Okay.
So then you ask yourself, why would anyone want the SGR to terminate at Naivasha when it is evident that in 10 years, in 15 years, the regional cargo might actually be at par or more than the domestic cargo? Okay. In other words, the Ugandan cargo, the Rwandan cargo, the DRC cargo, in a few years' time, will exceed the cargo that comes into our country. But beyond that also, our first trading partner is not a Western country, is Uganda. 900 million USD of business happened between Kenya and Uganda. That's roughly 100 billion Kenyan shillings. This is mostly goods, not necessarily services, goods. And so you find that these goods are going by vans, these goods are going by trailers. If we had an SGR that can facilitate that trade, wouldn't it perhaps grow to a higher rate, perhaps to 1,500 billion or something? And so the question of necessity is not just inclusion. The question of necessity is also practical in terms of the current, that we are doing trade with Uganda, and we need to facilitate that trade with proper infrastructure. It is also in terms of the future, that the regional trade is growing a lot faster, and if we do not invest on it, we will be surprised. And let me finish the question of necessity with the strange happenings between Tanzania and Uganda. Now, Tanzania decided that they are also going to build an SGR. At that time, we were still unsure whether to build it to Busia or not. We were still thinking and dreaming about it. And they won the logistics war, the diplomacy with Uganda. Now Uganda is interconnecting with their SGR. Now, our biggest competitor, at least here, is Tanzania, because at least they've gotten it right in terms of building a nation out of the many people groups living there, and the economy is growing a hell lot faster. Now, if then they are taking charge of the region in terms of the logistics business, what does that mean for our future as the regional power base? I submit to you that I am concerned that the railway, the people who are in power at that time did not see the need to push the railway to Busia or Malaba, as it were. And in fact, I have my own opinions as to why it had to land in Naivasha. And my thought as it is right now is it had to land in Naivasha so that Naivasha can be the pickup and the drop-off point, and the value of some land in Naivasha would go up. But that is just my opinion.